Last year's very first OnePlus Nord series device is now being replaced by the exceptionally well-named OnePlus Nord 2, touting some pretty sizable improvements over the original, but is it worth an upgrade? Let's work it out. Thanks for watching 9 to 5 Google here on YouTube. Remember to thumbs up, hit subscribe, and then tap the bell icon to be among the first to watch our upcoming videos. If you put the specifications of the OnePlus Nord and the OnePlus Nord 2 side by side, it's easy to see that there are some notable and important changes in the affordably focused duo. There are also a few internal tweaks that might turn a few heads, namely the usage of a MediaTek processor. The biggest difference this time around boils down to the camera setup though, which we'll talk about later on, and the usage of that brand new chipset that isn't manufactured by Qualcomm. The OnePlus Nord 2 is the first from the firm to come with a MediaTek processor, and this might make people wary of the device. In terms of benchmarks, the custom MediaTek Dimensity 1200 AI processor scores almost double that of the Snapdragon 765G from the Nord 1 when using synthetic benchmarking software Antutu. There's a 25% bump in CPU clock speed, and GPU performance is also boosted. Gaming is where the biggest notable jumps can be seen, with higher average frame rates across the board on the most popular games including Call of Duty Mobile, Fortnite, PUBG Mobile and Genshin Impact, plus many more other popular 3D titles. For those wondering, the closest Qualcomm chipset to the Nord 2 in performance terms is the Snapdragon 870, which is commonly found in the Poco F3. It just edges out the Dimensity 1200, but the MediaTek chip has the advantage of being based upon the 6nm manufacturing process rather than the 7nm manufacturing process. The screens on both of these devices are identical in terms of on-paper specifications, but when side by side, you can see some slight tonal differences, with the green tinting issues that were a problem on the original now looking resolved. You're also working with a 90Hz Full HD Plus AMOLED panel on both devices, but there is a very tiny decrease in screen size on the OnePlus Nord 2 to 6.43 inches compared to the 6.44 inch panel on the OnePlus Nord. You do, however, gain, or at least regain, a little extra screen real estate as the punch-hole notch on the upper left has been slimmed down. The removal of the ultra-wide selfie camera means that the notch is far less distracting and therefore smaller. With general usage, it is hard to tell the displays apart, but anecdotally, it feels as though the OnePlus Nord 2 gets a little bit brighter than the original. Daily performance should be where the original OnePlus Nord does start to fall behind the OnePlus Nord 2, but it is harder to notice unless using the devices side by side. The OnePlus Nord loses out the most with regard to app and device loading times. By upgrading to UFS 3.1 storage on the Nord 2, you're not only getting a chipset bump, but improved loading times across all areas of Oxygen OS. Most of the big changes though are to the actual chassis of both devices. While the colour choices suggest that the OnePlus Nord and Nord 2 have a shared lineage, the new device has far more in common with the OnePlus 9 series than its predecessor, or at least it does at first glance. That rear panel finish is also more rounded and made from a 3D AG glass rather than polycarbonate. The end result is a much more premium feeling package that feels a step below the flagship OnePlus 9 and 9 Pro, and that is a good thing. There's also the added bonus of one extra mainline colour with the Nord 2, which comes in Grey Sierra, Blue Haze and Green Wood, whereas the Nord 1 only arrived in Blue Marble and Grey Onyx upon launch, not including limited edition devices. We'll commend OnePlus for promising updates for their devices, but in recent years, it's frustrating to see the over-reliance on the Oxygen OS open beta path, and it is becoming quite a frustration and not fair on long-term customers or new buyers. This is great if you're happy to run technically pre-release software, but it shouldn't be to the detriment of those stable releases. That substantial gripe aside, the OnePlus Nord launched in late 2020 with Oxygen OS 10.5 atop Android 10 pre-installed, and has since received the stable Android 11 and Oxygen OS 11.0 update. This isn't quite the same build that comes pre-installed on the OnePlus Nord 2 though. OnePlus and Oppo are working to integrate the codebase of Oxygen OS and Color OS long term. This should mean better long-term support for upcoming devices, and the OnePlus Nord 2 has more hints of this merger with its specially built Oxygen OS 11.3. The result is a half step between the huge Oxygen OS 11 overhaul and some custom options that are more associated with Color OS. Hardcore fans need not worry just yet though, as the experience does feel very familiar, just with a few more customization options for you to tweak and tune to your heart's content. Updates of course can make or break a device, and the original OnePlus Nord will receive Android 12, but then it will only be provided a further year of security patches after support is ended. Because the OnePlus Nord 2 ships with Android 11 pre-installed, it is therefore in line to get the Android 13 update within its lifespan. That is disappointing, but like the original Nord, OnePlus has only promised 2 major Android releases plus a further year of security updates for the Nord 2 for update parity. If you care about updates beyond these phases, provided the option does exist, you can always look at installing a custom ROM for longer unofficial device support. The battery size is one of the main areas in which the older model has a substantial disadvantage. A larger battery though doesn't always mean extended lifespan, but in the case of the OnePlus Nord and Nord 2, a 385 mAh internal cell bump does make all the difference. The Nord 1 comes with a 4150 mAh cell, while the Nord 2 packs in a larger 4500 mAh battery pack. The Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G though, inside the OnePlus Nord, is quite efficient, but with a smaller battery in terms of lifespan, it can't quite compete with the Nord 2 unfortunately, but it still manages a full day with no issues. That's not all though, as the OnePlus Nord 2 includes much faster wired charging for when you need to replenish your smartphone. The already fast 30 watt warp charge is up to 65 watts, which should take you from 0 to 100% in well under 40 minutes. Neither device though includes wireless charging. Unfortunately, the cameras on the OnePlus Nord were not exactly great, unless you happen to just stick to that main sensor and didn't rely too much on digital zoom. The ultra-wide lens also still produces soft images that do deteriorate quickly in various lighting conditions, even with software updates. All of this is absolutely fine, as in no way is the OnePlus Nord designed to be a flagship camera setup, despite it touting the same main sensor as the OnePlus 8. OnePlus has decided with the Nord 2 it's going to pack in the Sony IMX766 50 megapixel sensor as used by the ultra-wide on the OnePlus 9 and 9 Pro, but it's being used as the main sensor rather than that dedicated ultra-wide angle. The Hasselblad partnership also doesn't extend as far as the Nord 2, but the camera tuning is much better in our experience than the OnePlus Nord so far. It's nice to see the borderline pointless macro sensor disappear here too, but a 2 megapixel monochrome sensor is added instead. That means while the OnePlus Nord does offer a quad camera setup, it is inferior to the triple camera setup found on the OnePlus Nord 2. And while the OnePlus Nord 2 beats out the camera setup on the original, the camera UI and features are still pretty comparable. That said, with a larger 50 megapixel sensor, the Nord 2 also includes an improved Nightscape Ultra mode and even the ability to shoot dual view video. It's not clear if these features will come to the original Nord with a software update or not at this stage. That said, most of the other camera features remain the same across both devices. So you're probably wondering, if I have the original Nord, should I upgrade? And with just about any device at 12 months old, if you are happy with the original OnePlus Nord, then we think you shouldn't upgrade to the Nord 2. The camera is a noticeable step up, as is the battery and performance levels, and there is quite a substantial jump from the 2020 model to the latest iteration. And while we're not actively suggesting that you should upgrade from an environmental perspective, it's far more warranted than previous OnePlus devices such as the OnePlus 8 to the OnePlus 9. That said, if you have the OnePlus 6T or an older device that is starting to show its age, then the Nord 2 offers a pretty nice upgrade path that is well worth taking a closer look at. It's hard to truly fault the original OnePlus Nord, but the Nord 2 is practically a different beast. Almost every portion of the phone has been upgraded or improved, which is often not the case from affordable Android to affordable Android. In some ways, the OnePlus Nord 2 looks like it provides some really interesting competition for the standard OnePlus 9, not necessarily the 9 Pro. If you are a OnePlus Nord owner though, and you are looking to upgrade, be sure to let me know your reasons why down in the comments sections below. Or if you're sticking, then similarly give me your reasons too. But until next time, this is Damien with 9to5Google saying thanks for watching. I hope this helped you, and I will speak to you later.